This is going to be an apple cobbler, but I'm going to caramelise the apples with some cider. So for the Bank of Ireland Open Farm Weekend, the farms that we're featuring are Longmeadow with their cider and vinegars and apple juices. We've got Armagh Cider Company, so the Troughton family with their ciders and their apples. And then we've got Acton House and the Bess family oats, which are whites. I'm using white speedy cook oats and that. But first thing I want to do is the base for the cobbler. So cobbler is pretty much just it's a apple or fruit, any kind of fruit cooked, and then you top it with essentially a scone mix. So in here, nice hot pan, and I'm just going to, over the bottom, just some sugar to make a caramel. And then what we want to do is just get that really, really nicely caramelised. So you don't need to touch it. If you start moving it, it won't melt for you. So just let it you can see there just coming around the edges. Bring that round. You could just do stewed apples, but I quite like doing this because it helps the Bramley apple, the Armagh Bramley, to hold its shape. So sometimes you cook them and they're a wee bit mushy, which is nothing wrong with that. So I'm going to use the Blossom Burst from Longmeadow cider, so it's quite a sweet cider. So you've made the caramel, and then what we're going to do now is make a cider caramel. So just add the cider to that, and then we just want to cook that down really to a really thick syrup. It'll take a couple of minutes, and then we'll add our apples, and they'll not take long. And while I'm waiting for that to happen, so I was going to put a wee bit of vanilla into that too, just a wee bit of vanilla paste. Now, when you add caramel, you get a nice caramel to start off with, and then add cider to that, you get an absolutely beautiful smell. So in here I've got butter and sugar that are rubbed together, butter and flour, sorry, and sugar. And then, if you can hold with me 2 seconds. Sorry, Charlotte. We're going to add a tablespoonful of baking powder to this. So quite a lot of baking powder, but we're going to get these to puff up for us. And then the oats. So this is these are white oats, but they're grown in Bess Farm, which is Acton House, which is open for the Bank of Ireland Open Farm Weekend. So it's oats are just part of our tradition. They're fabulous. So they've sustained us for centuries. So they're a superfood now. Okay, so that's that. And I'm going to make a well in the centre of that. Crack in an egg. And then I've got 100 ml of buttermilk here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the Madden's Mellow cider and make that up to 100 ml. My glasses are in my head, but I'm sure that's 100 ml. It looks like 100 ml. Right, so cider, buttermilk, mix that all around, and you just want that to make that into like a nice sort of thick, really just like a scone mix. So give it a good mix around, and then what we're going to do is we're nothing fancy with this dessert. A cobbler is literally, I think, it's cobbled together. So we're just going to pick that over to the side. This cider with the caramel, I just want to take that down for really like another 2 minutes, just to make it into a nice syrup. And then we're going to get our apples into that. Right, 2 minutes. So we're using the Bramley apple, County Armagh, PGI status Bramley apple. I always find that too, that whenever I cook with these, that anytime I use cooking apples in England or something, they're never as weighty, and they're full of Armagh rain, which is a good thing. That's what makes them lovely and crisp and beautiful. So we just want to take this right down just to really to a nice thick syrup, and then that's going to be our nice fruity bit in here. So they'll not take long once this is down to a certain point. We've got our lovely apple syrup, so you can see that there, it's nearly starting to caramelize again, and then just add the apples. If you want to put something else into this, you could. I've done this with apples and plums, apples and pears, apples and blackcurrants, blackberries when they're in season. So any fruit that you have in the freezer works really well with this. So we'll just let those cook down for a wee minute just to come down, and then we'll do our cobbler. Right, so our apples are caramelised there just to get, so we'll just put those into our dish, just lightly buttered dish. Okay. And then we'll just pat them down. You see the way they hold their shapes. If you want, and then if you just take big dollops of the cobbler mix, and so that's the cobbler with our butter and our sugar, egg. And then the oats from Best Farm, Acton House. There we are, just nice big. And we want to leave gaps in there, because what will happen is then, that'll sort of spread out a bit, because there's quite a bit of baking powder in that. That'll spread out and a wee bit, but then you get nice pokes of bubbly apple coming through. So that's that there. Okay, so I'm going to do a custard. Cobbler's in the oven, so I'm going to do a custard. I'm going to do a cider custard. So I have got some egg yolks here, some sugar, a little bit of cornflour. Just whisk that up. And then we've got some of the Blossom Burst cider. So it's going to be a cider custard. And some cream, and just let that scald really, and then just whisk the egg yolks and the cornflour together. A bit of sugar in that. So this is the first time I did this custard. I was doing a demo with and using Longmeadow cider. I was just sort of came out of nowhere. I thought, I'm just going to do a cider custard. So this is I was with Pat and Catherine from Longmeadow. So we came up with this. I came up with this cider, and we all liked it, and we've been making it ever since. So that's let that just scald, and then. Whenever that's hot, it doesn't take long. It's not like one of those big, long, convoluted custards. It's just the cornflour will thicken it quite quickly. Cream is scalded, so just pour the half of it, cream and cider rather, pour half of it over, give this a good whisk. So you're sort of tempering it together then. This back in again. And then just give this a whisk, and it will all come together beautifully. So you want to keep whisking it or keep stirring it, because if you don't, you'll end up with cider flavoured scrambled eggs. So that is not something that we want here. So I feel that thickening up now, so it is really quick. So just once the cornflour comes up, and then you've got your eggs, so it'll help thicken it as well. So that's our custard now. So I'm just going to set that aside actually, and wait for the cobbler to cook, and then we're good to go. Okay, so the cobbler's ready. So that's our cider caramelised apples, and then we've got the cobbler topping has the oats from Bess Farm at Acton House, and then we've got our custard using the Long Meadow Berry Burst. So I'm just going to take a wee bit out here, just take a nice bit of this. So you see a nice fluffy kind of spongy scone. And we've got our caramelised apples there. And just take a big dollop of the custard, the cider custard there. So that's our apple cobbler using Armagh Bramley apples. We've got cider, we've got caramelised with Long Meadow Berry Burst cider. We've got the Madden's Mellow cider from Armagh Cider Company in the topping, and we've got the oats from Bess Farm. There you are. So that's it. Smells great.